Thank you, Jeff. Good morning again, delegates, staff, and guests. It's that time of year. Snowflakes are starting to fall, at least those of you in the Snowbelt area who experienced that little lake effect incident last week can attest to that. Political ads, thankfully, have given way to, maybe not so thankfully, those annoying holiday shopping commercials on TV. And this is the time of the year that people are beginning to do their year-end retrospectives as we once again find ourselves hoping our next year will be better than the last. As 2023 nears the rearview mirror, we certainly do have reason to be glad it's almost over. Wars overseas, gun violence at home, dysfunction in Washington and Columbus, polarization in our communities fueled by misinformation and disinformation intended to undermine confidence in fundamental institutions in our society, including the media, our democratic systems, and public education. Cynical politicians have perpetuated fear and division to use culture war attacks on educators and our most marginalized students to justify a massive expansion of their privatization agenda, which includes a statewide program that now provides private school vouchers for any family, even millionaire families who want them. Hundreds of millions of dollars have already been expended this year in free government money for families whose kids are already and have always attended private schools. And the cost of the state will soon run into the billions. Remember, every dollar spent on private school vouchers means fewer resources for the 90% of Ohio's students who attend our public schools. What these politicians aren't telling us is that despite their attacks, parents remain on our side. They want what we want: safe, fully resourced public schools that allow their kids to learn and thrive. And they trust the teachers and education support professionals who've devoted their careers to student success. And they know what we know. Public education matters. It's the heart of it all. The power struggle between the privatizers and common sense folks who just want what's best for kids is real. And we are the ones who stand in the breach. As the largest labor union and the most powerful public education advocacy in Ohio, we, OEA, are the ones who will stand strong together to protect, promote, and strengthen public education. My friends, when we organize, we win. Winning's what we do. You heard from Kevin Carlin earlier this morning about our amazing success in Lakota's school board elections, and you saw the video of election successes in locals all across the state. In fact, when locals engaged in school board election organizing, as Jeff said, when they had OEA help, 75% of our targeted candidates won. We were also instrumental in getting numerous critical levy and bond issues over the finish line. And while you did not take a position on state issues 1 or 2 in November, your advocacy was absolutely critical in defeating the earlier issue 1 and protecting the principle of majority rule in August. With NEA support, OEA was a leader in the one-person, one-vote campaign to protect the citizen initiative process, and over 70% of OEA members voted no, with 29% indicating that OEA's recommendation was an important or decisive factor in determining how they voted. We organized and we won, and we were reminded at that time that elections matter. Our 2023 successes lay the foundation for 2024, when we will need to use ballot measures to fix Ohio's broken redistricting process and to lift up the dignity of all our members and the families of the students we serve by ensuring everyone earns a fair wage. We will also need to use our organizing muscle to elect a Supreme Court that will put the Constitution over politics and return a true champion of public education, organized labor, and the dignity of work to the United States Senate by re-electing Sherrod Brown. Watching what happens at the State House reminds us every day that elections matter. As Jeff will share in more detail in his report, our strategy of supporting both Democrats and Republicans who are willing to work with us on our issues has yielded some significant successes. Because of your advocacy and our bipartisan efforts, the new state budget includes a $1 billion increase in public school funding, a 17% increase in the state minimum teacher salary, a major expansion of student access to school meals, a return to local control in Lorain, and an end to mandatory retention of third-grade students based on a single test score. Of course, much more work needs to be done, and we need your help to elect pro-public education allies to both houses in '24. And passing the Citizens Not Politicians ballot measure will be essential to stop the spread of extremism at the State House so public education is protected and strengthened beyond 2024. Organizing to win doesn't just happen through elections and legislative advocacy. You've been doing it at the local level remarkably well this year. With your support and the overwhelming backing of their community, our brothers and sisters in Youngstown walked the picket line for 18 school days at the start of the year and won back their right to bargain for their working conditions and the learning conditions of their students. Because they stood strong, they removed an oppressive management rights clause from their contract. And other locals, from Southeast to Amherst to Springfield to Lakeland Community College, you organized like you haven't organized before and won at the bargaining table, in most of those cases, without having to resort to a strike. And the results have been extraordinary. Protection of health care benefits, expansion of member rights, and some of the most significant pay increases in decades. All of these things will be crucial in our ongoing work to attract and retain caring, qualified, committed educators in all our schools. OEA's bargaining successes are happening in the context of a seminal moment in the history of the U.S. labor movement. Driven by frustrations with an unjust economy, successful union organizing is happening across the country at places like Starbucks, Amazon, Trader Joe's, Apple, Chipotle, Kaiser Permanente, and MIT. Screenwriters and actors recently won major contract wins after long, highly publicized strikes. And how about the United Auto Workers? Jeff, Mark, and I, and many of you, joined us with striking UAW workers on picket lines in Toledo, Westchester, and Streetsboro to show our solidarity with our union brothers and sisters back in October when they were in the middle of their historic 46-day strike, a strike that ended with new contracts with the big three automakers. Those recently ratified contracts included pay raises ranging from 33% to over 166%. Faster progression to top pay levels, improvements to retirement security, and thousands of new union jobs. Yeah, that's worth clapping for sure. This historic success will benefit all workers and pave the way for new union organizing efforts, and it happens at a time when public support for labor unions is at the highest level since 1965. A whopping 71% of Americans are now saying that they support unions based on Gallup polling. It's amazing. This is our moment, OEA, and we must seize on it to gain the kinds of wins our members demand and our students deserve. As our Public Education Matters initiative continues to build momentum, we're called by our members to organize with a united voice to win the respect and dignity due to us as professionals and to gain the supports and resources that are essential to ensure all students, regardless of race, gender, religion, family income, sexual orientation, gender identity, all students receive the high-quality public education they need to fulfill their dreams, no exceptions. At the Spring RA in May and engagements with members across the state, and Patricia's going to talk about this in a moment, we've been asking you, our members, what this means in terms of the specific issues you care most about. And here's what you've told us. You want more parental support and involvement and help in addressing severe challenges with student behavior. You want less standardized testing, more time for prep, and reasonable workloads. You want to feel safe at school. You want supports for your students' emotional and social needs, including wraparound services, more school counselors, and resources to address the needs of your exceptional students. You want professional pay, quality health care, and a retirement you can count on. You want an end to book bans, legislative interference in your curriculum, and attacks on our LGBTQ students. You want fewer top-down mandates and more support from your administration. You want an end to staff shortages. You're tired of feeling burnt out. What you want is dignity and respect. Together, we can organize to win what our friend NEA President Becky Pringle likes to say, all the things. But we can't do it alone. We must continue to build and cultivate partnerships with community allies who share our values, including our commitment to racial, social, and economic justice. We must organize to maintain and strengthen our support from parents and caregivers. We must do even more to elect local leaders and state leaders and national leaders, including OEA members, who respect our work and will deliver for public education, pre-K through college. The task before us is great, but we are the right people at the right time to meet this challenge. I remain inspired by the incredible work you do every day for your students in your classrooms and work sites. Let's put the same energy we devote to our kids into fighting for one another, our professions, and public education. Because after all, if the UAW can do it, why can't we? This is no time to be timid or fearful. Let's be bold together. Earlier this year, America marked the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, in which 250,000 people descended on the area around the Lincoln Memorial to hear Dr. Martin Luther King's immortal "I Have a Dream" speech. The 1963 March for Jobs and Freedom brought Black and white Americans from across the nation together to protest systemic inequalities that continue to oppress African Americans a century after emancipation. We know that many of those inequities continue to plague our system today, despite some trying to erase that history, right? While Dr. King's role in the march and his iconic speech are well known, what many people don't realize is that the march would not have been possible without the organizing work led by a man named Bayard Rustin. Rustin, who was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by Barack Obama in 2013, has been described as a fearless activist, an elegant writer, an astute thinker, a galvanizing speaker, a master strategist, and a great organizer who understood that Black people were exploited on the basis of class as well as race. And therefore, the best ally of Black people was organized labor. Along with the great labor and civil rights leader A. Philip Randolph, Rustin turned out thousands of union members to make the March on Washington a resounding success and pave the way for the passage of the 1964 Civil Rights Act and the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Now, Rustin's identity as a gay man is believed to have obscured his leadership role in the movement and the march, but he's receiving some of the recognition he deserves with the passage of time. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend checking out the new biopic of Rustin that's playing on Netflix. I believe Rustin was foreseeing our fight to protect majority rule and end gerrymandering when he said, quote, "If we desire a society without discrimination, then we must not discriminate against anyone in the process of building this society. If we desire a society that is democratic, then democracy must become a means as well as an end," unquote. Elections matter. Public education is the cornerstone of our democracy, and we must continue to use all the tools of democracy at our disposal to protect, promote, and strengthen public education. Rustin also said that we need in every community a group of angelic troublemakers. If we're going to demand for our members the respect, dignity, and support they need to provide our students the high-quality public schools they deserve, folks, it's time for us to be those angelic troublemakers, right? We must speak out against injustice in all its forms and stand together to organize at every opportunity. 2023 is nearing an end, and it's up to us to make 2024 a year of growth and strength. Our vision, as this representative assembly decided last spring, is to create an Ohio where all students have access to a high-quality public education and where all members are supported, valued, and respected. Angelic troublemakers, this is our time to turn that vision into reality, because when we organize, we win. Thank you very, very much.